This video is to provide you with a brief overview of the SurgiNet computerized check-in. In the intraoperative documentation phase, we will cover case selection, main OR nursing, and finalizing the record. Go ahead and log in with your username and password. This screen is called a case selection window. You'll come in here and pick out your patient for the day, and you'll notice that here in the left-hand corner that this patient, Richardson, happens to not be checked in yet. To check them in, click the box. This will bring up this check-in window. Check your information and make sure that it's all correct, and select OK. Now come down to the bottom right-hand corner and click Open. This will lead you to the patient information screen. This is the banner bar at the top, and you're going to click Perioperative Doc. This actually opens directly into the intraoperative record right here because it's defaulted. And if you need to change that, you can click this down arrow and change it to the area you need to be in. This is the documentation that you're going to be completing for this procedure. This is an appendectomy. These are the called segments. Notice over here with the red X with the exclamation points, they have required information in them. The blue dots on the side of them are defaults. These portions of these segments have a default within them. When you go to document, you'll see it automatically fill in. The initial screen will be the case times window. Click on this box right here, and it will pop up the time automatically. You can choose with the up or down arrow to change your time, or you can touch that arrow on the right-hand side, and that's the calendar, and it'll actually change the date. You just click Next. That will move you to the next segment, which would be allergies. Select Yes that you've reviewed your allergies, and who you've reviewed them with. And within this box, you need to select Self, as if you've reviewed them with the patient themselves. The next segment is the case attendees. Notice that it's pre-populated with your anesthesiologist and your surgeon. One thing that you can notice as well, though, that's not populated with the procedure, so you need to tap on each one of these names and make sure it says appendectomy right here, and make sure it's checked, and make sure it says modify. Select your physician, make sure API is checked, and hit modify as well. Now you need to add in your case attendees and who else is in the room, and their role performed. And then make sure that appendectomy is checked on this particular instance. You need to hit Add. Select Add again, and then click Next. This is going to jump you to the Perioperative Protocols. This used to be our passport to surgery. Here you can tab and hit the space bar, and that will check the areas that each one of these areas that will need to be filled out. And tabbing through will be much quicker than using your mouse. You can tab all the way through this. Fill in the correct information and select Next. Notice that your timeout pops right here. It's just in the same area as the perioperative protocol, and you may not be necessarily doing that at this time. the segment will come back to you in the documentation. Notice I hit Next. It asked me if I wanted to add this entry to the list box up in the top. This is considered the list box right here. That would be what I would consider her documentation, and you need to add that information into her documentation. This is the accounts verification. In case you're doing multiple procedures, then you'll have the option to choose one or the other, or both. You need to select your account type. This segment will also come back to you later on, so that way you can just fill it out. Notice the arrow over here, and you have to choose your participant and put them in the box. Therefore, you can do multiple people at one time. Being the initial count, it is NA that the surgeon is notified, and the account is correct. Select the next. Add this to your list box. The next being the delays segment. Choose a delay, whether there's none. And no matter what, you still need to put a duration there. So you might need to put 0 in that box. I'm going to demonstrate here how to discontinue a segment. You need to right-click on that segment and then select Discontinue. That's going to allow you to not chart on that segment if you happen to have one in there that you didn't need. Select a reason why, and then you're going to go ahead and just click OK. Now you're going to notice that that segment is grayed out, so you don't need to chart on it anymore. Select the next button. Your skin preps will come up, and you'll notice ChloraPrep is already populated in this field. The prep areas is in this field as well. That is set through preference card maintenance as a default. Hair removal. You clipped. Choose your site. Move it over to the right. And then who did it? Select Next. And add it to the list box. You'll notice that your timeout came back to you this time. You need to go ahead at this point and fill it out. You have to individually move each person over. Select your time, and you can hit this calendar and the time will populate. Or you can hit this timeout completed and it will automatically give you the time, the current time that is. In this area, you can also tab space as well to fill out your timeout. It's a little quicker that way. This comes back to the case times where you need to hit your surgery start. And then your surgical procedure details. If you click up here in the list box on appendectomy, you'll notice that this is already filled in. Whether or not you need to use modifiers or additional procedure details, you'll notice the start time populated from earlier documentation. The surgical service needs to be filled in. This happens to be general. Select Next. This box, if you notice, will ask you to modify. selecting the API in the top list box, now you want to modify that information you don't want to add. The general case data, you'll notice the ASA class. If the anesthesiologists are documenting in Cerner, you need to leave that alone. That will populate from their documentation. Otherwise, if they are not, then you will need to ask them what the ASA class is. Under the cautery segment, also you'll see some defaults. I defaulted the monopolar, the serial number, so you'll just have to type in the last 4 numbers. And then the grounding pad site. And then select Next. The medication administration, if you come over here to time, you can click the time bar and it'll give you the current time. Click in the medication box and you'll notice 3 different types of search boxes. The down arrow searches from the pick list information. The left arrow searches from the inventory to where you can type in a piece of information or a portion of the word. Select medication that you'd like. It will populate. The other search is this one on the far right. It's got 3 dots in the box called the ellipse. It's called the advanced search. Just click on it and type in whatever you'd like to search for. Notice the pick list update confirmation window appeared. Because this was not on the pick list, it's asking if you'd like to add it to the pick list. Notice this yellow area, you need to select the appropriate fill location. With being the medication, it is an MA, it will not actually charge for this medication because we're charging from the OmniCell, but you do need to go ahead and click OK. Under the cultures, just type in the specimen, and then move it over to the box there, and then hit Next. Under Accounts Verification, this is where you'd come in and do your first closing account here. The next segment will be your final count. Do the same thing. Move your participants over. This will jump you into the times again to select your stop time. Select Next, and this is the last segment, and it will automatically go to. We've touched all the segments. We need to go back to our plan of care. This one is also one of those where you can tab, space. This is our care plan that we need to finish out at the end of every single procedure. Select Next. Tab space your way through it. It's going to be a little bit quicker. Under Case Times, we're going to select our out of room time. Case Times is the last segment, so select OK. And you'll notice that red exclamation point turned into a green check mark. Case Attendees, this is one where you're going to need to go back and check and make sure that it's accurate. Once you've checked, go up to your next segment. That exclamation point will turn green. Same with the surgical procedures. Notice that you can grab this. And that'll help make sure that you have all the proper information filled out within the list box. This is another segment that you just need to go back and touch. And then it will turn to a green arrow once you get it finished up. Now you want to go up to the top. There's a little green flag up here. That's your Finalize your case. Notice here on my Perioperative Protocols, I have some document deficits. What I need to do is go ahead and click that. That will bring me back to my segment that's improperly filled out. Notice that I have the procedure listed twice. I did this to show you how to fix this specific problem. If you want to go in and remove that second case. And then you want to go in. This is where you're going to need to touch that procedure. Click Next. You need to add your timeout participants. Basically, I've added the second procedure to this list box, which is not what you want to do if you're only doing one procedure. It will give you an error every time. This is where you'll need to select Modify. Notice that all the information is now filled out inside the list box. So go ahead and select OK. OK again. And then select the finalized document has no deficits. Would you like to finalize the document? Just click Yes. And this is the actual documentation to print it out.